Zach. I'm doing chapter 12.3. It's going to be the current policies on the impact it has on the market. So you have two options. You can either save or invest. When you invest, it's going to reduce the amount of kind of current supply, current money or goods you have, but it's going to increase the capital for the future. So say you have like $1,000, you can either use that for goods today, or you can use it to build more goods that are going to help you have more capital in the future. So that's why a lot of businesses, when they start, they need that initial investment, and they're not going to have a lot of goods initially, but that investment is going to produce them more goods over time. So pretty much it's a sacrifice for current goods for future goods. So now we're going to dive deeper into the difference between saving and investing. So there's a thing called diminishing returns, and that is the more stock you invest, the smaller the return is going to be. So if you look at this chart here, when you first initially start to invest, the capital is going to rise quite a bit, as you can see here. Then as you invest more and you get up to this point on top, the increase is going to be smaller for the same amount of capital invested. So then the more money that is saved, the less resources that are needed for this current amount, because there's just going to be that much less money that is out in the economy used to buy stuff. For example, if you have money in your bank account, you're not going to be using that to buy stuff right now. You're going to be using the money that you have out and invested, or you're not going to be spending that money that you're saving. So the more investments in capital, it only leads to more productivity until the returns are diminished. So that's talking about kind of this beginning part of the chart. And the beginning part here, where the investment of capital leads to high outputs, that can last anywhere from a couple years to a decade or two. It isn't necessarily a short amount of time. And this is because for countries such as poor countries and developing countries, that first initial investment of capital is going to be bringing in new technology, new ideas. It's going to be educating the population and giving them the tools in order to strengthen their economy. So they're going to see greater growth in the initial amount of time. Then towards the end, once they have all that technology, it all comes in and they have the ideas, they have the resources that they need, they're not going to see as much growth. And that's kind of where a lot of the more rich countries in the world, such as like China or the United States, Great Britain, like those more developed countries, they're going to be up here in the top. So far we have just talked about domestic investment. Now we're going to talk about foreign investment. There's two types: foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Foreign direct investment is going to be when a company such as Nike goes and builds a factory in another country, such as either Mexico or like India or some of the European countries, something like that. It's capital investment owned and operated by foreign entities. So Nike isn't from those other countries, but they're investing that capital to build the factory, and then they're going to hire workers from that country in order to work in their factory. And while it doesn't increase the GDP of the United States, it's going to increase the GNP of the United States, because they're going to be bringing that income back to the United States. It's also going to benefit the other countries by also increasing their GDP, but it's also going to be bringing those new ideas and techniques, technology to those countries, and to those more developing countries that don't have that technology yet. And then the foreign portfolio investment is going to be buying foreign stocks. So if you go and buy stock of a country from either China, India, Great Britain, any of those countries, your buying of the stock is going to increase the capital of that company, and then they can use that to increase their revenue and increase their sales and use that to build their company. So there are many ways to increase the productivity and raise economic growth. One major one is education, and with more education, there's an increased standard of living and more productivity. For example, in the US, on average, for every year of education, there's a 10% increase in the amount of wages. Therefore, if you make $60,000 a year, and then you go through 4 years of school, that's going to be a 40% increase in wages, which is about $24,000. So you're going to be going from $60,000 to $84,000 a year. And then one issue with the education in many developing countries is called the brain drain, and that's when some of the citizens who want that education, they go to countries that are already developed, like the United States, and they're going to go to colleges, universities, a higher education in these countries, and they're going to enjoy that higher standard of living, and then they're not going to go back to the countries where they're from with the lower standard of living, and that kind of takes that education away from those countries. Another major thing is nutrition. It increases productivity because if you have proper nutrition, you're going to be a healthier person, you're going to have more energy, and your brain's going to work better, and it's going to develop correctly. Property rights, that is very influenced by the government and the judicial system. So it's the ability of people to exercise authority over the resources they own. And this is a big one because if companies make a product and then somebody can just steal it and they don't gain anything from that good that they created, they're not going to want to go and create that. So then outward focused policies is another big thing that keeps a lot of these developing countries from becoming in economic power. And so the inward focused policies is what they're going to have, and it's going to be just wanting to kind of create all their own things, and it's not going to want foreign investment. And outward focused policies is going to want that foreign investment, and that's how those new ideas are going to come in, and it's going to give them all that new technology. So another thing that governments can do is encourage new research. And about a decade ago, the United States did this, and they did a bunch of research, and they were able to give farmers the knowledge they needed to increase their production with their fields and the nutrition of the soil that they're working. And then something that kind of helps this with new ideas is the patent. Gives exclusive rights for a period of time. So if a new drug is produced and it can like solve a disease or something, that company that produced it and spent all that capital to go into that research and find the correct formula, they're going to have, say, 5 years just to produce that drug and make the profit in order to make it worth their investment initially. One of the last factors is population. With a larger population, there's going to be more output created, but it's also going to require more to sustain that population. You're going to need more food, you're going to need more goods such as clothing, housing, you're going to need more just in general to live. There's also more people in the school system, which is going to create a strain on the school system, so there's going to be more resources devoted to that, but it also decreases your GDP because how many people are in school. And that's it. I hope this was helpful. And